Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health risk for December 5th, 2025. We do keep additional graphics available at tpatw.com. And for those of you who shop Amazon, please visit our shop, Patient Weather, on Amazon, and you can support Patient Weather by making your Amazon purchases through us. Looking at the surface map for the 5th, you can see that we have several active frontal systems, one moving inland across the Pacific Northwest, a second stretching from Montana through South Dakota all the way to the Michigan Upper Peninsula, reinforcing that frigid air. And we do have another front hanging all the way from the coast of North Carolina across the panhandle of Florida, and then stretching all the way down south to just about San Antonio. Looking at our vitality index, which is a measure of all of those weather elements that could cause some difficulty, and it really looks like a Christmas tree we're lighting up across the country, but we do have some very much interesting activity going on, a little bit in California, lots across Washington into Idaho and Montana, a really significant little burst here across North Dakota, but a massive stretch of activity and interest going all the way from Dallas and Texas across Oklahoma City, back up into the Great Lakes area and covering all of the Great Lakes states. Finally, we have a little bit of activity moving away from Maine, and we have a new set of developing activity here along the Gulf, and that's what that frontal system that's hanging across Florida all the way down to San Antonio. Looking at pressure change, and pressure change is always of interest to anyone with a weather health interest. And you can see we have significant falling pressure across the Pacific Northwest, Washington, Oregon, cutting across Idaho into eastern Montana, struggling to get into Wyoming. The massive area of falling pressure stretching all the way from Texas across Oklahoma, Kansas, Iowa, all the way up through Minnesota, Wisconsin. And then, of course, we do have another area where we have running from Arkansas clear on up into western sections of New York. A little bit of falling pressure here again across northern Florida, and the only two areas of rising pressure, North Dakota, and then fleeting moving away from Maine. Looking at temperature change, and we have a lot of temperature change going on. We still have bitterly cold temperatures in the east, but note that we're getting some warming where we have that falling pressure up through the plains, the Mississippi Valley, and especially about the Great Lakes. We have a touch of increasing temperatures here in Washington, Oregon, a new batch of falling temperatures coming down into the Dakotas, and very interesting, some cold air just hanging on across the Dakotas. And note we have some warming going on again here in northern Florida. Dew point temperature change pretty much following along the same thing. We have falling dew point temperatures here in the Dakotas, rising dew point temperatures almost everywhere else, and it shows very significantly that increase in rising dew point temperatures, especially across Florida, and then a little bit here up into Nebraska, but quite a lot going on in the Pacific Northwest. Looking at POI, or our measure of the oxygen availability in the atmosphere, looks like a rather painful day, but we have the risk of migraine stretching from eastern Montana across the Dakotas, but mainly North Dakota and up into the southern sections of Canada. Note we have a risk of migraine here in the toe of Louisiana, and we have that risk of migraine across the Carolinas. We also have a risk of migraine right along coastal New England, cutting across southern Maine, but moving significantly into New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. The real risk of pain, arthritis, asthma is really across much of the remainder of the country, especially here across California, which is always unusual, significantly across Washington and Oregon, and then really in a massive area from Dallas up through Oklahoma City, eastern Kansas, Iowa, and then picking up significantly about the Great Lakes, Wisconsin, Michigan, northern Indiana, and Ohio, and then on into Canada. Note we have the risk of asthma and arthritis across the state of Florida, very significantly across northern Florida into southern Georgia. Thanks for visiting The Patient and the Weather. Your comments are appreciated, and if you hurt, let us know where you're located. Finally, again, for Amazon shoppers, Patient Weather has a storefront on Amazon. If you do your Amazon purchasing through our storefront, you can help support Patient Weather.